The skies are not always silent. They hum with frequencies beyond the reach of human ears, with echoes of light bent across gulfs of time, with whispers born in explosions older than our species. And yet, in a season of deep observation, the Western observatories fell quiet. Their mirrors turned black, their data streams interrupted. In that void of silence, across the curvature of Earth, another lens awakened. From China, a sequence of images emerged, grainy, spectral, unsettling. They revealed a visitor, 3I Atlas, the third interstellar object ever seen passing through the solar system. It did not shimmer like a comet, nor drift like a star. It burned with a pale defiance, its angles wrong, its reflections inconsistent, its momentum untamed. The western skies had gone dark, but these images bled through the veil, as if meant to remind humanity that even in silence, the universe is never still. There was something unnerving in the timing. Western telescopes, so often first to capture cosmic arrivals, were blind. Their silence came like an eclipse, not of celestial mechanics, but of human coordination. As the blackout stretched from mountaintop observatories to orbiting eyes, the only vision left was Eastern. China's telescopes, quiet in their release, sent into the world fragments of something that defied the ordinary. The interstellar visitor had been caught, but not contained. In that moment, astronomy turned cinematic. The Earth stood in shadows, staring at a shape that had crossed countless light years, carrying mysteries that might rewrite physics, unsettle philosophy, and disturb the fragile story we tell ourselves about the safety of our skies. A new traveler had entered the stage, and with it, the fragile boundary between what humanity observes and what it understands began to dissolve. The story of 3I Atlas begins, as all discoveries do, not with certainty, but with a flicker, a faint blur recorded against the shifting canvas of the stars, indistinguishable at first from noise, from cosmic dust, from error. Astronomers, combing through the endless stream of survey data, paused only briefly upon it. It seemed at first another asteroid, a wandering rock within the family of countless others catalogued every year. But then came the velocity, then came the angle, and then came the realization this was no native child of the Sunday. It was the third. Humanity had encountered only two others of its kind. In 2017, Oumuamua had announced itself with its elongated body, tumbling strangely, accelerating in ways comets should not. 2 years later, Borisov entered a more comet-like visitor, carrying a tail, whispering familiarity even as it carried alien ice. And now, years later, in the silence of disrupted telescopes, came 3I Atlas. Its discovery was quiet, unheralded at first. It was detected by the Asteroid Terrestrial Impact Last Alert System, a network of survey telescopes scanning the heavens for threats to Earth. Yet, what it revealed was not a threat in the usual sense, but a messenger from outside the cradle. 3I Third Interstellar. Its official designation was clinical, stripped of poetry. But in that name lay the weight of cosmic history. Humanity had only begun to see such visitors. For billions of years, they had crossed into and out of the solar system unnoticed, their paths undisturbed by human eyes. Now, suddenly, 3 had been seen within the span of a single human lifetime. What had changed? The sky itself had not altered its generosity. The interstellar flow had always been there. It was humanity's instruments that had evolved. Detectors tuned to faint motions, algorithms designed to sift the chaos of data. And still, the discovery was fragile, balanced on thin threads of observation. The visitor could easily have been missed, its passing recorded only as silence. But it was noticed, not by accident, not by inevitability, but by the patient labor of those who refused to look away from the unending night. The discovery was not the triumph of one nation, nor one observatory, nor one mind, but of a species learning to pay attention. Yet in this case, attention came unevenly. The telescopes of the West dimmed at a critical moment, whether by failure, fate, or design. China's eyes, steady and quiet, saw what others did not. And thus began the unfolding of a mystery, not of whether it was real, but of what it meant, and why the silence had chosen its moment so carefully. When the images finally surfaced, they carried with them a weight that was not merely scientific, but geopolitical, almost theatrical. China's observatories, standing quietly against the flow of suspicion and silence, had produced the only clear visual record of the interstellar wanderer. Released sparingly, the frames appeared stark and unpolished, distant points of light made to tremble against their cosmic backdrop. Yet to astronomers, they were astonishing. Confirmation that the faint signatures of motion seen in survey data had substance, had shape, had presence. The timing could not be ignored. Across the Western world, telescopes, long trusted as the eyes of humanity, had gone offline. Some cited technical outages, others mentioned scheduled maintenance. A few simply went silent, their feeds black, their data streams broken. To the public, such events seemed trivial. To the scientific community, the coincidence gnawed like a hidden wound. An interstellar visitor, only the third of its kind ever seen, had arrived, and in that moment of cosmic rarity, the West was blind. China's decision to reveal their images did not come with bombast or declaration. They appeared in academic channels first, subtle notes, releases attached to observatory records, but within those quiet announcements lay something haunting, proof that the universe had delivered another fragment from beyond its stars, and that for reasons unspoken, much of the world had not been allowed to see. The images themselves invited more questions than they answered. Against the night, 3-eye Atlas appeared both ordinary and unearthly. Ordinary, in that it resembled a speck, a shifting smudge of reflected light. Unearthly, in that its trajectory could not be reconciled with local objects. It had crossed gulfs unimaginable, arriving from no known stellar system, its velocity too high, its path too unbound to have been born of the Sunday. Why, then, had only one nation's instruments captured it with clarity? Was it luck, a matter of geographic alignment, or a consequence of choices less transparent? What did it mean for the future of astronomy if access to the deepest mysteries became fractured, politicized, divided by silence? For now, the world stared at Chinese images, at pale light reflected off something ancient, foreign, and inexplicably near. For a moment, all interpretation belonged to the East, and in the shadows of what was unseen, suspicion and wonder grew together, twined like roots in the soil of a larger cosmic riddle. The cosmos had already given humanity 2 warnings before this. The first came without precedent, startling the scientific world in 2017. Oumuamua. Its name, borrowed from Hawaiian, meant scout or messenger, and it lived up to both. Detected as a thin sliver of reflected sunlight drifting unnaturally fast across the night, it arrived as the first confirmed interstellar object ever glimpsed by human eyes. Its shape was unlike anything seen before, long, flattened, like a shard of glass fractured by celestial violence. More unsettling still, its trajectory betrayed a subtle acceleration, a deviation from the gravity of the sun alone. Comets do this with jets of gas, but Oumuamua bore no visible tail, no evidence of outgassing, only its ghostly motion. The debate over Oumuamua split astronomy into uneasy camps. Some insisted it must be a fragment of rock, its acceleration due to mechanisms we had not yet observed. Others, including a few bold voices, wondered aloud whether it could have been more something designed, something sent. The mystery lingered, unresolved, and Oumuamua slipped away into interstellar space before telescopes could study it further. The second arrival came in 2019, 2I Borisov. Unlike Oumuamua, Borisov looked the part of a comet, with a streaming tail and the familiar chemistry of icy bodies. Yet it too was interstellar, its speed unbound by the sun's leash, its orbit clearly foreign. If Oumuamua had unsettled us with its strangeness, Borisov reassured us an alien, yes, but of familiar breed. It suggested that interstellar debris was real, that icy wanderers from distant star systems sometimes crossed our path. And now, 3I Atlas, the third, a confirmation that these were not one-time accidents, not mere flukes of detection, they were patterns, a rhythm of arrivals long overlooked, now glimpsed with sharpened tools. 3 visitors within just a handful of years. After billions of years of silence, the universe seemed suddenly intent on knocking at our door. This pattern was unsettling, for if countless interstellar bodies roam the galaxy, unseen for eons, why now? Was it only the improvement of our telescopes? Or had something changed in the vast corridors of interstellar space, something driving fragments across the gulfs, something tearing objects from distant systems and flinging them toward ours? Each visitor was different. Oumuamua, enigmatic, sharp, and inexplicably accelerated. Borisov, a comet of alien ice, more familiar, yet uncomfortably fast. And now Atlas, faint, elusive, captured in Chinese images while Western eyes went dark. Each left behind more questions than answers. If they were chance encounters, they revealed the immensity of the unknown. But if they were something else, patterns with intent, echoes of forces greater than chance, they whispered, of mysteries humanity has only begun to grasp. 3 heralds, 3 enigmas, 3 reminders that our solar system is not isolated, but part of a restless sea of wanderers. It was difficult to ignore the pattern. As 3I Atlas emerged into human awareness, the telescopes of Europe and America, so long the pride of planetary observation, dimmed. Instruments as mighty as Pan-stars in Hawaii, as vast as the Keck Observatory, as precise as spaceborne detectors orbiting Earth, all fell quiet. They called it downtime, maintenance, technical issues. Each phrase was true enough on the surface, yet the timing was uncanny. One by one, eyes closed just as the visitor approached, leaving only a single continent awake. China, in this silence, became the lone recorder. Its observatories captured not only the faint motions, but the whispers of light echoing from the object's fractured surface. In those frozen frames, the world saw something no Western lens could confirm. It was as if half the planet had been asked to look away, while the other half stared directly into the abyss. The coincidence sparked unease. Was it fate, nothing more than chance? The universe does not bend its schedule to human readiness. Or was it something deeper, an unspoken caution, a deliberate withholding, the selective filtering of knowledge? Science demands transparency, yet the sky's blackout echoed like secrecy. The object itself fed the tension. It did not behave as it should, its reflections inconsistent, its trajectory unfamiliar. What better time for silence than in the face of the inexplicable? Western absence was not only technological, it was philosophical. For centuries, astronomy had prided itself on openness, on shared data, on the collective study of truth. Now, with this third messenger from beyond, silence fractured that principle. Thus, 3I Atlas was not only an interstellar traveler, it was a wedge, driving questions between east and west, between visibility and darkness, between what was known and what was shown. In its wake, astronomy itself seemed to stagger into a new, uneasy age. The path to discovery is rarely straight. Astronomers had not set out to find 3I Atlas. Their gaze was fixed on nearer dangers, asteroids that might one day cross Earth's orbit, fragments of rock that carried with them the quiet threat of extinction. The Asteroid Terrestrial Impact Last Alert System, known as ATLAS, was designed as a sentinel for such dangers, sweeping the sky for subtle motions of approaching bodies. Night after night, its automated lenses traced shifting specks, comparing frames, filtering false positives. And then came the anomaly, a faint point of light moving too swiftly at too sharp an angle to belong to the familiar architecture of the solar system. At first it was flagged as another candidate asteroid, perhaps one in a long line of near-Earth objects, but its trajectory could not be contained. The calculations betrayed its origin, interstellar space. Its speed exceeded the solar escape velocity before it had even entered the system. It was not of the Sun, not bound by its gravity. It was only passing through. This was not the first time astronomers stumbled into such revelation. Oumuamua had been found by accident, its peculiar brightness curve noticed while surveys were aimed elsewhere. Borisov had been caught by a patient amateur, Gennady Borisov, with a telescope of his own making, and now Atlas, built for defense, had stumbled across a messenger. Each arrival seemed less like a targeted search and more like a reminder. The universe chooses its moments, not us. But 3I Atlas was different. Its discovery coincided with silence. As astronomers in Hawaii and Chile compared data streams, gaps opened. Western telescopes shut down, leaving the traces thin, fragile, incomplete. It was as if the discovery itself had slipped into shadow. Only fragments remained: timestamps, partial frames, hurried calculations. The Chinese images filled the void, but they arrived layered with ambiguity. Was the discovery theirs alone, or was it a collective finding fractured by circumstance? The boundaries blurred. What remained certain was this: humanity had stumbled once again upon an interstellar traveler, not by seeking it, but by colliding with its presence. The mystery had not been invited. It had been found by accident, and accidents are often the truest mirrors of the unknown. Why do interstellar objects unsettle us? They are not vast in size compared to planets, nor catastrophic by default. Yet their very presence disturbs the order humanity thought it understood. The solar system, for all its chaos, obeys familiar rhythms. Asteroids circle in belts, comets dive inward in icy arcs, planets trace ellipses bound by the sun's gravity. But an interstellar object breaks these rhythms. It does not belong to the dance. It drifts in from elsewhere, carrying with it the fingerprints of a foreign star system, and then leaves without anchoring itself to ours. Oumuamua was the first to awaken this unease. Its tumbling motion, unlike any asteroid, and its unexplained acceleration ignited whispers of the artificial, whispers that still linger like echoes in the halls of cosmology. Borisov, though more familiar in appearance, reminded us that icy wanderers from alien suns can and do cross our path, carrying matter untouched since the birth of another system. And now, Atlas arriving quietly, almost shyly, in a moment of fractured vision. What unsettles most is not their presence but their rarity. For billions of years, interstellar objects must have entered and exited our system, unnoticed, unseen. Only in the last decade have we begun to glimpse them. 3 in such a short span seems almost deliberate, as if the veil of invisibility has suddenly lifted. The odds, once thought astronomical, now seem ordinary, and that ordinariness is terrifying. For what do they represent? They are fragments of alien worlds, perhaps cores of shattered planets, frozen relics of long-dead suns. They may carry the unaltered chemistry of other systems, the seeds of molecules foreign to Earth. They may even, some speculate, be the discarded husks of something constructed. To look at them is to look at the unknown made visible, the foreign arriving uninvited. They remind us that our solar system is not sealed. It is open, porous, vulnerable to visitations beyond prediction. These objects carry no malice, no intention, yet they disrupt the story we tell of our cosmic solitude. They are proof that the void between stars is not empty. It moves, it sends, it delivers wanderers whose very trajectories deny the boundaries of home. And that denial unsettles us most of all. Measuring an interstellar object is like trying to weigh a ghost. It passes quickly, it shines faintly, and the data it gives is always fragmented, scattered like clues in a story only half told. 3I Atlas was no exception. The Chinese images provided the first anchor points, a position, a motion, a pale curve traced against the stars. From this, velocity could be estimated. From brightness, a crude size could be inferred. But what emerged was not clarity, it was contradiction. The light curve, the record of how its brightness changed over time, refused to conform. Most objects tumbling through space reflect light predictably, flashing brighter and dimmer as they rotate. Atlas, however, shifted in irregular ways. Its shape could not be pinned down. Was it elongated like Oumuamua, spherical like a comet's core, or fractured into multiple lobes? The data gave no single answer. Velocity brought another puzzle. It entered the solar system faster than any typical comet, its speed already too great to be explained by the sun's pull. Its inbound path traced back not to the Oort cloud, not to the Kuiper belt, but to the deeper void, to the unbound regions between stars. It was, beyond doubt, an interstellar traveler. Yet even here, numbers wavered. Some calculations hinted at slight deviations from pure gravity, accelerations that echoed Oumuamua's inexplicable drift. Others insisted the anomalies were within error. But doubt lingers like a shadow. Once noticed, it cannot be unseen. Its reflective properties unsettled astronomers further. The object did not gleam like ice, nor dull like rock, but shimmered with a strange albedo at times too bright, as though coated in something thin and reflective, and at times too dark, as though swallowing light. Some hypothesized volatile ices sublimating invisibly. Others considered fractured surfaces that scattered photons in unfamiliar ways. But in the silence of missing Western data, no one could cross-check. This was the heart of the problem, a chain of measurement too fragile to bear the weight of truth. Each observation raised questions, each question demanded further data, and yet, in the moment humanity needed its eyes most, half of them had closed. What remained were incomplete numbers, irregular curves, faint whispers of spectral lines, enough to confirm that 3I Atlas was no ordinary body, not enough to tell what it truly was. Astronomy thrives on precision, but here, precision dissolved into mystery, and mystery, once tasted, demands answers. The paradox became clear as the numbers deepened. 3I Atlas did not behave as the solar system's laws demanded. Newton's equations, elegant in their simplicity, should have traced its path with certainty, binding each movement to the quiet grip of gravity. Yet the data resisted. Its motion contained hints of a force unseen, subtle drifts that ordinary celestial mechanics could not account for. It echoed Oumuamua's unsettling behavior, a body accelerating ever so slightly as it left the sun, but without the expected plume of gas and dust that would explain such motion. In the language of physics, this was a violation, a whisper that the models we trusted were incomplete. Einstein's general relativity, which bends space itself to explain orbits and curves, also gave no solace. The equations remained perfect on paper, but the traveler refused to obey them fully. This defiance was not spectacular. The object did not streak across the sky in chaos, nor explode with fire. Its rebellion was quieter, subtler fractions of acceleration, anomalies in reflection, deviations so small they could be dismissed as error. And yet, they returned again and again, like a ghost tugging at the fabric of certainty. In science, it is often the smallest cracks that undo the strongest walls. The strangeness struck deeper still when its size was considered. If it were a comet, its tail should have been visible, streaming behind it under solar radiation. If it were an asteroid, its density and reflectivity should have aligned with known families of rock. Instead, it lingered in between, neither one nor the other, a hybrid without category. And if it were a fragment of some shattered world, its smoothness defied the violent birth such shards usually bear. For scientists, this was the shock, not that the object existed, but that it resisted every attempt at classification. It contradicted the rules not through grand defiance, but through quiet refusal to fit the boxes prepared for it. The laws of physics themselves were not broken, but their application became unsteady, blurred at the edges. This is why interstellar objects terrify, beyond the poetry of alien origin. They remind us that our physics, so trusted, may not be universal, that the rules written in the heavens may vary, or at least bend, when matter forged beneath a foreign star crosses into our domain. In Atlas, the paradox grew visible, an ordinary speck of stone that carried within it the quiet suggestion that nothing is truly ordinary, not even the laws we call immutable. The silence was the strangest part. When 3I Atlas entered the range of detection, one would have expected a flood of images, a chorus of observatories across continents reporting, analyzing, and debating. That was the pattern with Oumuamua, when telescopes worldwide raced to track its fading light. It was the same with Borisov, when both professionals and amateurs contributed streams of data. But with Atlas, a hush descended. Reports of outages began quietly, each observatory citing mundane causes, a cooling system malfunction, a mirror alignment issue, communication glitches between instruments and ground stations. Spaceborne observatories, too, reported anomalies, moments of unexpected silence, interruptions in their telemetry. One telescope might be explained, two, perhaps coincidence, but across multiple instruments, across multiple nations, the quiet became uncanny. Scientists accustomed to an open flow of shared data suddenly found gaps in their networks. Collaborations that spanned borders faltered under the absence of fresh numbers. The object moved on, yet its trail was broken, incomplete, a story with missing pages. Those who noticed raised questions, but the answers were vague, official, perfunctory. No clear pattern was admitted, only a chorus of technical difficulties timed with inconvenient precision. And into this vacuum stepped China's images. Released carefully, without drama, they filled the silence with substance. Yet the very act of release sharpened the question, why were these the only images? Was the West blind by accident or by design? Some suspected coincidence, the natural fragility of human technology revealing itself at an unlucky moment. Others whispered of secrecy, of deliberate withholding in the face of an object too strange to reveal without careful control. And still others wondered whether it was not humanity at all, but the object itself emitting signals, interfering subtly, dimming eyes turned toward it. None of these suspicions found proof, yet the silence itself was proof enough of rupture. Astronomy had always been a discipline of abundance, of shared light and open skies. Atlas revealed not only an interstellar traveler, but a fracture in that tradition. For the first time, it seemed, humanity looked at a messenger from the stars and chose, in part, not to look at all. What remained of 3I Atlas's record was fragile, a chain of fragments held together by hope more than certainty. Astronomers worked with what they had: faint Chinese frames, snippets of data from smaller instruments still online, hurried notations from observatories before their feeds went dark. Each piece was incomplete, like a torn page from an unreadable book, yet pieced together, they told the outline of a story. The images showed a point of light moving faster than any bound solar body should. From its trajectory, its orbit was reconstructed, not a circle, not an ellipse, but a hyperbola. It was passing through, forever unbound, entering the solar system with a velocity too high to have been born here. This alone was enough to confirm its alien origin. Yet beyond that, certainty faded into shadows. Brightness was plotted over days, but the curve wavered unpredictably. It flickered like something irregular in shape, tumbling perhaps, or fractured into pieces. Its reflectivity shifted in ways that suggested unusual surfaces, smoother than expected in some places, oddly dark in others. Attempts to extract its spectral signature, its chemical fingerprint, were thwarted by the weakness of the signal. Was it icy, like Borisov, metallic, like an asteroid core, or coated in something else entirely? The fragments gave no answer. Even orbital models struggled. Some hinted at tiny deviations from gravity's pull, echoes of Oumuamua's defiance. But without continuous observation, the error bars grew too wide to trust. It was like listening to a melody broken into scattered notes, the rhythm implied but never truly heard. The fragility of the chain haunted the community, for if the West's silence had been chance, the data loss was a tragedy. If deliberate, it was worse, a fracture in the idea that the universe belongs to all who gaze at it. Either way, the object slipped further from clarity with each passing night. By the time more instruments resumed, it was already fading into the depths, the best chances of study lost. And so, what remained were echoes, partial light curves, rough orbital fits, spectral hints at ice or stone. Enough to confirm strangeness, not enough to define it. A chain of data too thin to hold the weight of certainty, but too compelling to ignore. Like the afterimage of a dream, it refused to fade, insisting on meaning even as it resisted clarity. Momentum should be simple. In Newton's universe, a body in motion stays in motion, its path altered only by forces, gravity, pressure, collision. For centuries, this law has been the bedrock of celestial mechanics. Planets orbit, comets fall, asteroids drift, all in obedience to the invisible hand of momentum. Yet 3I Atlas betrayed a different story. Its movement carried whispers of something else, something ghost-like, as though a hidden hand had brushed against it in the dark. The first hints came in the residuals, the tiny mismatches between predicted position and observed location. With each passing night, astronomers recalculated, aligning orbital models with the faint smudge of light on their detectors. And yet, no matter how carefully they adjusted, a trace of error remained. It drifted outward, as if pushed by a force too delicate to name. In Oumuamua, the same defiance had been noted, a small but measurable acceleration as it departed the Sun, without a comet's plume to justify it. Scientists suggested outgassing too faint to detect, jets of invisible molecules nudging it gently. But Atlas presented the same problem, and no plume was seen. Its surface, whatever it was, seemed both silent and active, an engine without exhaust. To some, this hinted at cometary behavior cloaked in unfamiliar chemistry, volatiles releasing gases the instruments could not capture. To others, it suggested fracturing pieces breaking away, unseen, imparting momentum to the whole. But there was another possibility, darker and stranger, that Atlas was being influenced not by ordinary matter, but by the background forces of the cosmos itself. Perhaps subtle radiation pressure, or even interactions with the quantum vacuum, were at play. Forces humans had not learned to measure, but which an interstellar relic might reveal. This was why astronomers spoke of cosmic ghosts of momentum, because what they saw was not a blatant contradiction, but an invisible whisper, a faint tug defying explanation, a reminder that even the simplest laws can dissolve at the edges of the unknown. It was not chaos, it was not noise, it was motion carrying within it the echo of forces yet unnamed. And in that echo, a quiet terror grew. If even momentum is not what we think it is, what else might lie hidden, waiting to be revealed by the next interstellar visitor? Comets have a signature as old as astronomy itself. They blaze across the sky with luminous tails, shedding vapor and dust under the warmth of the sunday. Their spectra glow with the fingerprints of water, carbon dioxide, cyanide. Asteroids, by contrast, are silent stones, fragments of shattered worlds, bare and airless. These two families define the small bodies of the solar system, and every new discovery is tested against them. Yet 3I Atlas refused to belong to either. It showed no cometary tail, no plume of gas fanned out behind it, no halo of dust betrayed its surface. To any naked eye, or even to most telescopes, it was a sterile rock drifting alone. And yet, its behavior contradicted this image. Its subtle acceleration, its brightness shifts, hinted at activity of some kind. Some spectra suggested faint traces of gas signatures almost invisible, hidden within noise, like whispers buried in static, a comet without a tail, a contradiction in form. Nor did it behave like a true asteroid. Its light curve was too erratic, its albedo too inconsistent. Some surfaces seemed to flash unnaturally bright, as though polished or metallic. Others swallowed light, darker than expected stone. Its shape, if inferred from the rhythm of its flickering, was irregular, perhaps elongated, perhaps fractured. Nothing about it aligned with the ordinary families catalogued over centuries of observation. This defiance of category unsettled scientists most of all. It was neither comet nor asteroid, neither entirely inert nor clearly active. It was, in effect, a third kind, an object straddling boundaries or erasing them altogether. Like Oumuamua before it, Atlas became a reminder that the taxonomies humanity trusts are fragile, provisional, too narrow for the immensity of the universe. Some proposed that it might be a fragment, broken off from a larger interstellar body, carrying chemistry altered by its violent birth. Others speculated it might be coated with exotic ices, ones that sublimate invisibly under the sun's light, leaving no visible trail. Still others whispered of artificiality, of surfaces designed to scatter light irregularly, of hidden propulsion disguised as natural drift. In every scenario, the truth remained elusive. The traveler fit no mold, obeyed no category. A comet that isn't, an asteroid that cannot be. A relic of something older, stranger, from a world whose rules we cannot yet guess. And in that refusal to be named, it became a symbol of the very mystery that interstellar visitors embody, that the universe is far larger, far stranger than our definitions allow. The puzzle deepened with every attempt to look closer. Though 3I Atlas bore no visible tail, instruments sensitive enough to pass faint spectra began to whisper otherwise. Subtle signatures, weak, broken lines in the noise hinted at molecules that should only appear in comets. Hydrogen cyanide, carbon monoxide, the ghostly fingerprints of outgassing, but without the visible plume that should have accompanied them. It was as if the traveler breathed invisibly, exhaling vapors that vanished before they could be seen. This contradiction fractured the debate. Some astronomers argued the faint lines were artifacts, statistical ghosts conjured from sparse data. Others insisted they were real, that Atlas was venting in a way unfamiliar to us. Perhaps its ices sublimated differently, converting to gases that dispersed too quickly for tails to form. Perhaps its surface was coated in something that masked visible emissions, trapping dust and leaving only invisible vapors to escape. The more the data were analyzed, the stranger the picture became. Its light curve continued to flicker irregularly, suggesting a shape both elongated and unstable. Its brightness at times seemed too great for its estimated size, as though it reflected more efficiently than stone or ice should allow. Yet on other nights it dulled, its surface swallowing starlight. A living paradox. Too bright, too dark, too quiet, too active. Theories multiplied. Was it fractured internally, venting through cracks hidden from telescopes? Was it coated with exotic materials, amorphous carbon, metallic alloys, ices altered by cosmic radiation over eons? Could it even be hollow, with internal voids collapsing and venting gas invisibly? Each hypothesis carried weight, but none explained all the anomalies at once. The deepening puzzle carried echoes of Oumuamua, whose unexplained acceleration left cosmologists debating artificiality. But Atlas was not merely accelerating, it was performing contradictions. Every category into which it was placed seemed to dissolve, too comet-like to be rock, too asteroid-like to be ice, too erratic to be either. And so, what emerged was a new category of mystery objects that exist in the grey between definitions, wandering between stars, as if to remind us that the universe was never built for our taxonomies. They carry in their silence the weight of countless star systems, chemistry shaped under alien suns. To glimpse them is to glimpse something other, something that does not yield to easy naming. 3. I-Atlas, the comet that isn't, forced astronomy to peer deeper into uncertainty. For in the failure to define, the true scope of the mystery revealed itself. The memory of Oumuamua lingered like a shadow over every analysis of 3I-Atlas. Astronomers could not help but compare the two. Both arrived uninvited, slipping past Earth's defenses. Both carried with them the marks of origin in alien systems, and both refused to behave as expected. But in Atlas, echoes of Oumuamua's strangeness became louder, harder to dismiss. Oumuamua's greatest mystery had been its acceleration. As it departed the sun, its speed increased beyond what gravity alone could explain. The absence of a cometary tail made the explanation of outgassing unsatisfying. Some claimed it was an icy shard, sublimating gases too faint to see. Others whispered of the artificial that perhaps it was not a fragment of stone at all, but a sail, a fragment of technology designed to ride sunlight across the galaxy. The debates never resolved. Oumuamua slipped into the dark, carrying its secrets with it. Now, with 3I-Atlas, the same signature emerged. Faint deviations from pure gravity, flickers of anomalous brightness, inconsistencies in classification. Was this coincidence or continuity? Were these objects part of a family, bound not by origin but by mystery itself? What unsettled most was the suggestion of recurrence. One anomaly can be dismissed, two form a pattern. If interstellar visitors routinely display such behavior, then the problem lies not with the objects, but with our models of matter, motion, and light. The laws that bind the solar system may not bind the galaxy in the same way. Or perhaps these travelers carry with them properties altered by their journeys, chemistry reshaped by exposure to forces unknown in interstellar space. Some researchers revisited the old speculation, the solar sail hypothesis. If Oumuamua could have been a fragment of thin material propelled by starlight, what of Atlas? Its reflective irregularities, its subtle acceleration, its refusal to show a comet's tail These too could whisper of a structure not entirely natural. Yet to say so was to invite ridicule, for astronomy holds tightly to its commitment to natural explanations. Still, the echoes of Oumuamua could not be silenced. Atlas reminded humanity that the first messenger had not been unique. It suggested continuity, perhaps even intention. And in those echoes, a deeper unease took root. What if these objects are not accidents of physics, but messages in themselves, arrivals that reveal, by their very strangeness, that we are not alone in the flow of the stars? The Chinese lens was not a single instrument, but a network, an interwoven web of observatories, both ground-based and orbital, designed to watch the skies with relentless precision. At the heart of this effort was the Purple Mountain Observatory in Nanjing, whose history stretches back to the early 20th century. Alongside it were newer facilities, the Lijiang 2, 4-meter telescope in Yunnan, the Guo Shoujing Lamost spectroscopic survey telescope, and a constellation of smaller instruments scattered across the vast geography of China. Together, they formed a lattice of sight that proved decisive when the West's vision faltered. It was these lenses that caught the faint shimmer of 3I Atlas, recording its pale light against the dark. They traced it not with fanfare, but with quiet diligence, publishing data in subdued releases. The world saw only fragments, yet each frame was a triumph of persistence, a signal wrestled from the noise, photons captured from a traveler that had crossed millions of years of void to flicker briefly within human perception. Chinese instruments carried advantages of timing and geography. Where Western observatories slipped into outages, China's night skies were clear, its systems active, its watchers alert. More than coincidence, this reflected a growing investment. China had poured resources into building a modern astronomical infrastructure, recognizing that cosmic discovery was not merely scientific but symbolic, a measure of a nation's place in the universal story. Their telescopes, tuned to wide surveys and deep imaging, were able to track 3I Atlas across its brief passage. Spectrographs strained to parse its composition, while cameras traced its erratic brightness. Each photon was a clue, each flicker a hint. It was not enough to solve the puzzle, but it was enough to preserve it, ensuring the object would not vanish into total anonymity. The irony was not lost. For centuries, Western observatories had dominated discovery, their instruments atop Hawaii, Chile, and in orbit above Earth. Now, at the very moment of interstellar visitation, their silence gave way to another voice. China had become the custodian of this mystery, its telescopes holding open the window through which humanity could glimpse an alien shard. The Chinese lens was more than glass and mirror. It was a reminder that the cosmos belongs to no single people, and that the privilege of seeing may shift with time, with politics, with the flow of history. Atlas had chosen no nation but its story. In that fragile moment was written by the watchers of the East. Beyond Earth's mountaintops, humanity had placed other eyes machines orbiting above the atmosphere, satellites armed with cameras and detectors meant to pierce the darkness without distortion. These orbital assets were designed for clarity, free of clouds, free of weather, free of the tremors of Earth. Yet when 3I Atlas entered the system, even these satellites struggled. Their silence added another layer to the enigma. Spaceborne observatories like Hubble had, in past years, been turned upon Oumuamua and Borisov. They had delivered invaluable, if fleeting, glimpses of the interstellar. But with Atlas, their gaze faltered. Reports of temporary malfunctions, recalibrations, and inexplicable losses of telemetry emerged in unconnected notes. A satellite would pause its feed. Another would return blurred data, corrupted streams of pixels. Instruments that had captured galaxies billions of light-years away now failed to resolve a visitor within reach of our own Sunday. Theories multiplied. Was it simply bad timing, a convergence of maintenance cycles, hardware strain, and the fragile reality of orbiting machines? Or was something else at work? Could 3I Atlas itself have been interfering, emitting frequencies or fields too faint to measure directly, but strong enough to distort instruments aimed at it? The notion was speculative, yet it spread, fed by the eerie consistency of the outages. Ground-based systems fared little better. Adaptive optics, designed to sharpen the blur of starlight, faltered when turned upon the visitor. Some images showed streaks of light inconsistent with expected motion, as though the object was shifting unpredictably between frames. Others captured nothing at all, despite predictions placing it in the field of view. Silence, again and again. For centuries, astronomy had been the science of accumulation, more instruments, more data, more certainty. Yet Atlas revealed the limits of this abundance. More eyes did not guarantee clearer vision. Sometimes, the more humanity looked, the less it saw. The satellites, shadows, and silences left behind only fragments. Enough to confirm the visitor's existence, but not enough to reveal its truth. As if the cosmos had drawn a curtain across its stage, allowing just enough of the play to be glimpsed to stir wonder and unease. As the fragments of data spread across the world's networks, speculation grew, filling the void left by silence. Theories multiplied, not because the evidence pointed clearly in any direction, but because the absence of certainty invited imagination. Scientists, philosophers, and storytellers alike began to ask, what is 3I Atlas? One possibility was almost comforting, an ordinary shard of cosmic debris. Perhaps it was the fragment of a shattered planet, torn apart by tidal forces near its parent star, flung outward into the interstellar sea. In this view, Atlas was nothing more than an orphan of violence, a relic of stellar cataclysm, carrying the scars of destruction across eons until it wandered into our domain. Yet even this raised unease. For if fragments of broken worlds regularly cross our skies, how many pass unseen, how many brush close without our knowledge? Others suggested stranger origins, the irregularities in its motion, its reflective anomalies, its cometary whispers without a visible tail. All of these fed the idea that Atlas might not be wholly natural. Was it a probe, a fragment of technology abandoned by another civilization, a structure designed to survive interstellar passage, drifting now without function or purpose? Even those who rejected this idea admitted the parallels with Oumuamua were difficult to ignore. A darker vision imagined Atlas as a seed, a carrier of chemistry or biology, flung across the stars by processes we do not yet understand. In this hypothesis, interstellar objects are not accidents, but mechanisms of cosmic propagation, scattering the ingredients of life across stellar neighborhoods. If true, then Atlas was more than a rock. It was part of an ancient and ongoing exchange, the galaxy itself acting as gardener. Each theory carried weight, each explained part of the anomaly, and yet none explained all. The object's silence was its greatest voice. By refusing to fit into any category, it forced speculation to stretch beyond the boundaries of the known. And as speculation stretched, it touched philosophy, myth, even fear. The darkening theories revealed less about the object than about humanity itself. When faced with mystery, some turned to comfort, imagining only stone and ice. Others turned to awe, envisioning technology or life. But all were united in a single truth. Atlas was not ordinary. It carried with it the power to disrupt certainty, to pull imagination into the space between facts, to remind humanity that every traveler from the stars might carry secrets greater than the sum of its fragments. Einstein's name surfaced, as it always does, whenever the cosmos betrays its mysteries. His general theory of relativity has explained so much: how light bends in the presence of gravity, how time itself stretches under mass, how the very fabric of space curves around stars and planets. It is the language by which astronomers draw the trajectories of planets, the orbits of satellites, the pathways of comets. But what if the whisper of Atlas was Einstein's equations stretched to their breaking point? Some wondered whether its anomalous motion could be traced not to hidden jets of gas, but to the curvature of space-time itself. Perhaps the object was moving through a region of the cosmos where gravity is not as smooth as we assume, where the structure of space-time carries wrinkles invisible to us. Could gravitational waves, rippling from distant cataclysms, nudge such a small traveler subtly from its predicted course? Could the geometry of space-time itself act unevenly on bodies born in other systems, distorted by histories our instruments cannot yet trace? Relativity had explained Mercury's orbit, the bending of starlight near the Sun, the expansion of the universe. Yet here was something smaller, subtler, a rock, a shard, a faintly gleaming body, suggesting that even Einstein's vast insight might not be the whole story. If Atlas were drifting in defiance of Newton's clean arcs, was it because Einstein's fabric of space-time tugged unevenly at it? Or was it because forces even deeper than relativity were at play? To imagine this is to imagine a cosmos less orderly than we thought, a universe where the stage itself, space-time, can ripple and fold, altering the dance of its actors in ways our mathematics has not yet caught. Atlas became, in this telling, a messenger not of alien chemistry, but of geometry itself, carrying whispers from the hidden architecture of the cosmos, Einstein's whispers now faintly trembling into paradox. If relativity left questions unanswered, quantum speculation offered a darker, stranger canvas. For at scales beyond the reach of common intuition, the universe seethes with energy, particles flickering in and out of existence, forces whispering through emptiness. Some scientists dared to wonder whether 3I Atlas had revealed traces of these hidden mechanisms, its anomalous behavior, not a defiance of physics, but a glimpse into its deeper strata. Could it be, they asked, that the object was propelled not by jets of gas but by quantum interactions themselves? In the vacuum of space, virtual particles continually erupt and vanish, forming a restless foam of energy. If Atlas possessed a surface or composition tuned by chance or by design, it might interact with this sea in ways no ordinary body could. It might draw infinitesimal momentum from the vacuum, becoming a kind of quantum sail, gliding not on sunlight but on fluctuations of nothingness itself. Others whispered of exotic matter. Perhaps Atlas contained elements forged in conditions rare even for stars, isotopes shaped by collisions of neutron stars or born within the first seconds of the Big Bang. Such matter might not behave like terrestrial stone or ice, but respond to radiation and gravity in ways alien to our experience. Its reflectivity, its irregular brightness, its subtle accelerations, could these be signatures of physics glimpsed only in accelerators, now embodied in a natural fragment from the galaxy's depths? The speculation stretched further still. Some spoke of quantum tunneling, the possibility that Atlas might shift slightly through space not by smooth arcs, but by flickering probabilities. Others invoked fields beyond the standard model, unseen influences shaping its course. Each theory was speculative, none proven, yet all carried the same weight. Atlas might be more than a rock. It might be a mirror, reflecting back to us the parts of reality we have not yet learned to see. For centuries, the quantum world has lived in laboratories, confined to equations and experiments. But perhaps the cosmos itself is the truest laboratory, and perhaps interstellar wanderers like Atlas, are the experiments already underway, drifting across the void, carrying in their silence the hidden truths of the quantum world. As the faint data of 3I Atlas spread through the scientific world, one word began to whisper through the debate: dark. Not in the ordinary sense of night, but in the cosmic sense: dark matter, dark energy, the unseen forces that shape the very fabric of the universe. Could this visitor from beyond the stars be linked, however faintly, to those hidden powers? Dark energy is the most elusive of all. It is not a substance, but a mystery that pushes galaxies apart, driving the universe to expand faster and faster. Its nature remains unknown. And yet, when astronomers looked at the subtle anomalies in Atlas's motion, the unexplained accelerations, the deviations too delicate for Newton or Einstein alone, some wondered whether they were glimpses of that same hidden hand. Could this fragment of alien matter, wandering through interstellar space, have interacted differently with the dark energy field that permeates the cosmos? Could it be carrying, in its strange trajectory, the signature of the universe's acceleration itself? The possibility was intoxicating. If interstellar objects interact even faintly with dark energy, they might serve as natural probes, messengers carrying information from regions of space-time unreachable by any telescope. Their behavior, their deviations, their silent defiance of gravity might encode, however faintly, the properties of the unseen. Others speculated more cautiously. Perhaps the object's chemistry, altered by billions of years adrift in deep space, was unusually sensitive to radiation pressure, mimicking the effects of dark energy. Perhaps its surfaces were coated in materials that responded to fields unknown to us. But each hypothesis circled the same question. Could Atlas be more than an interstellar rock? Could it be a fragment of evidence, drifting proof of the energy that governs the universe's fate? Dark energy, by its very name, resists comprehension, yet here was a traveler from the void, behaving in ways that recalled its whispers. If true, then 3I Atlas was not merely a curiosity, it was a cosmic experiment, a natural probe of the most profound force humanity has yet named. And so the speculation grew that this faint, flickering object might carry within it the fingerprints of the very energy that drives reality apart, a clue sent across the void by no design, but by the universe itself. Beyond physics as we know it lies speculation that stretches even further into the notion that our universe is not singular, but one among countless others. The multiverse, a tapestry of realities, each with its own laws, its own constants, its own histories. For most, it remains a philosophical idea, untestable and unprovable. Yet when 3I Atlas defied classification, some dared to suggest a link. What if this object was not simply born of another star, but of another universe? Imagine a cosmos where the constants of physics differ slightly, where matter forms differently, where gravity bends in ways unfamiliar. If fragments from such a realm cross the thin boundary into ours, would they not behave as anomalies? Would their surfaces not reflect oddly, their momentum not drift strangely, their chemistry resist our categories? Atlas, in this telling, became a mirror from another reality, a shard torn through the veil between worlds. There are theories in cosmology that entertain such possibilities. Cosmic inflation, the rapid expansion after the Big Bang, may have birthed countless bubble universes, each sealed within its own physics. Collisions between these bubbles, though rare, could scatter debris across the borderlands. To us, such debris would appear inexplicable, an object of stone or ice that does not obey the rules written in our sky. Some imagined Atlas as such debris matter not native to our universe at all. Its refusal to fit into comet or asteroid, its anomalous momentum, its silent contradictions, all could be read as the scars of passage from one cosmos to another. Of course, such speculation is fragile, balancing on the edge of philosophy and science. The multiverse cannot yet be tested, and objects like Atlas could always be explained by more ordinary mechanisms. Yet the mystery opens the door. When reality presents something that resists explanation, the mind seeks larger frameworks, vaster narratives. And so, Atlas became, in the imagination of some, more than interstellar. It became interuniversal, a reminder that the sky above us may not be the only sky, that the rules we cherish may be only local customs, that matter itself may bear the fingerprints of realms beyond our own, a shard not just from another star, but from another world entire. Every field of science has its guardians, those who hold the line against speculation, insisting that the extraordinary must always yield to the ordinary. When 3I Atlas emerged, these voices were loud, reminding the world that comets and asteroids are complex enough without invoking alien sails, quantum propulsion, or multiverse debris. They argued that the simplest explanations, though unsatisfying, were the most likely: faint outgassing too subtle to produce a tail, irregular surfaces reflecting light in unpredictable ways, or observational errors amplified by incomplete data. For them, the comparisons to Oumuamua were reckless. That object too, they reminded us, could be explained by the physics of icy fragments, shaped by radiation and cosmic weathering, its strange acceleration nothing more than hydrogen molecules evaporating invisibly. To leap beyond such explanations, they warned, was to risk turning astronomy into myth. And yet, even these defenders of caution were unsettled. They admitted the gaps in the data, the uncertainties that no telescope had resolved. They conceded that Atlas, like Oumuamua, had characteristics that fit no clean category. Their resistance was not denial of mystery, but fear of overreach, the conviction that science must proceed slowly, anchored in evidence, or risk drifting into fantasy. This resistance was more than academic. It was cultural, even philosophical. For centuries, astronomy has balanced wonder with skepticism, awe with rigor. Theories that stretch too far, ancient visitations, cosmic intelligences, worlds beyond worlds, have often collapsed under scrutiny. To protect its credibility, science leans toward restraint, demanding that every claim be tethered to measurable truth. Yet restraint can itself become blindness. The refusal to imagine beyond the familiar can leave mysteries unexplored, anomalies dismissed as error rather than opportunity. In the case of Atlas, resistance meant the story remained confined, an interstellar fragment, curious but not revolutionary, strange but not transformative, a comet without a tail, perhaps, a rock fractured by time, nothing more. But even as this narrative hardened, doubt remained. For each ordinary explanation left something unresolved, some irregularity unaccounted for. The guardians of caution could not silence the unease entirely. Atlas still drifted beyond categories, carrying its contradictions with it. And those contradictions whispered, quietly but persistently, that perhaps the universe is stranger than the defenders of reason are willing to allow. Beyond the open halls of academia, there are other watchers of the sky, those who do not publish openly, who do not share freely, who look not for knowledge but for security. Space is not only a scientific frontier, it is a theater of surveillance. Every interstellar object, no matter how small, becomes a subject of quiet interest for agencies whose purpose is not discovery but defense. 3I Atlas was no exception. The very moment its trajectory was confirmed as unbound to the Sun, it entered the awareness of intelligence networks. For a fragment arriving from interstellar space is not merely an astronomical curiosity. To those responsible for national security, it is a potential threat, a body whose path must be traced with precision to ensure it poses no risk of collision with Earth. But there is more. Such an object, mysterious in its motion and defiant in its classification, inevitably raises another question. What if it is not entirely natural? In the wake of Oumuamua, whispers had circulated even within official corridors. The idea that it might be an artifact, a relic of technology, adrift in interstellar space. No proof was found, yet the speculation had taken root. With Atlas, the echoes returned. Its irregular light curves, its unexplained accelerations, its refusal to wear the signature of a comet all invited suspicion. If it were natural, it was puzzling. If it were artificial, it was revolutionary. Neither possibility could be ignored. And so, classified instruments were almost certainly turned toward it. Radar arrays, deep space sensors, satellites designed to map trajectories with military precision. The data they gathered did not enter the public domain. What was shared with the scientific community was partial, scattered, filtered. This silence, too, explained part of the Western blackout. Not all outages were failures. Some may have been choices. The surveillance of space is rarely acknowledged, but always present. As humanity reaches further outward, the line between science and security blurs. Every strange signal, every anomalous object, becomes both a puzzle and a potential concern. And so, while astronomers debated openly, others watched quietly, measuring Atlas with tools that remain hidden, weighing not its scientific mystery, but its implications for human safety and perhaps for human vulnerability. The decision to release the images was deliberate. China could have held them, locking the data within the walls of its observatories, publishing nothing until the visitor had long since departed. Instead, the frames appeared first in modest academic channels, then echoed across networks, the only clear record of 3I Atlas when much of the West remained blind. Why release them? Why then? Some read it as a gesture of scientific goodwill, a demonstration that astronomy is not bound by borders. The cosmos belongs to all who gaze upon it, and in sharing the images, China positioned itself as the custodian of that ideal, offering clarity where silence reigned. Others saw strategy. To release the only evidence when Western instruments had gone dark was to claim not just discovery, but narrative. In a story of global mystery, the East became the author, and the West a silent audience. There may also have been subtler motives. In an era when astronomy is as much a matter of prestige as of science, the images carried symbolic weight. To be the sole provider of vision, while rivals faltered, was to demonstrate capability. Telescopes and satellites are not merely tools of knowledge, they are instruments of power, proof of technological ascendancy. By unveiling Atlas through its own lenses, China signaled that it possessed not only the instruments, but the will to use them at decisive moments. And yet, there was restraint in the release. The images were not dramatic. They did not embellish or exaggerate. They were stark, almost austere dots of light against a field of black, annotated, catalogued, offered with quiet authority. This was not spectacle, it was control. To release just enough to confirm, but not enough to explain. To own the narrative, yet leave it wrapped in mystery. Whether by design or coincidence, the effect was profound. For months, discussions of 3I Atlas orbited around these images, the only stable fragments of evidence. The rest, the silence, the outages, the anomalies, was speculation. But the images, however sparse, were real, and they bore the mark of origin: Chinese telescopes, Chinese observers, Chinese release. Thus, Atlas became more than an interstellar visitor. It became a symbol of shifting vision, of who holds the privilege of sight when the unknown arrives. And in choosing to share, carefully and selectively, China shaped not only the story of the object, but the story of how humanity tells its cosmic truths. The release of China's images and the silence of Western observatories did more than fuel speculation about 3I Atlas. It revealed something deeper, a fracture in the way humanity approaches cosmic truth. For centuries, astronomy had been one of the most collaborative sciences, transcending borders, sharing data freely across nations. The sky, after all, knows no politics. Light falls on every telescope alike. But now, with an interstellar visitor passing through, the flow of information faltered. The East spoke, the West did not. This fracture was not only scientific but symbolic. It suggested that the mysteries of the cosmos might no longer be explored under a banner of unity. Instead, they might be interpreted through lenses of rivalry, each nation deciding not only what it sees, but what it chooses to reveal. Atlas was a test of this fragile compact, and the test ended in silence, suspicion, and uneven vision. Some scientists grieved this openly. They spoke of lost opportunities, of how much could have been learned had data been shared across all observatories. Others defended the silences, citing technical or political realities that shaped what could be released. And still others noted how the imbalance changed perception. For once, the world was forced to rely not on Western institutions but on Chinese releases. That reversal alone carried profound weight. The tension raised questions that reached beyond astronomy. If interstellar objects are truly common, if they will visit again as Oumuamua, Borisov, and Atlas suggest who will own the narratives of their arrival. Will nations compete for cosmic prestige, hoarding data as symbols of power? Or will the universe force a kind of reluctant cooperation, binding humanity together by mysteries too vast for division? For now, the fracture remained. The West held its silence, the East held its images, and in between, the interstellar traveler drifted on, indifferent to the boundaries it had illuminated. The cosmos had revealed a fragment of itself, but humanity had revealed something too, that even under the infinite sky, unity is fragile and truth can be divided. The passage of 3I Atlas underscored a truth long known but rarely felt. Humanity is unprepared for the strangers that cross its skies. The detection of Oumuamua, Borisov, and now Atlas came not from missions designed to study the interstellar, but from instruments built for nearer goals: asteroid defense, wide sky surveys, the watch for comets. Each discovery was an accident, a byproduct of vigilance. To truly understand these travelers, new tools will be needed. Astronomers already speak of tomorrow's instruments with reverence. The Vera C. Rubin Observatory in Chile, with its vast mirror and sweeping field of view, promises to catalogue the transient sky like never before. Its legacy survey of space and time will scan the heavens nightly, sensitive enough to catch faint objects racing across the solar system. Had it been operating at the time of Atlas, the gaps in data might not have been so wide. Space agencies, too, are considering missions built not only to watch, but to chase. Concepts have been drafted for probes capable of intercepting interstellar visitors, flying alongside them, sampling their dust, even capturing images up close. Such missions must launch quickly, their trajectories calculated within days of discovery, for these visitors move fast and depart quickly. But if achieved, they could transform mystery into clarity, turning whispers of light curves into direct knowledge of composition, shape, and origin. Other instruments, subtler but equally vital, are being prepared. Infrared telescopes to detect faint heat signatures, radio arrays to listen for unusual emissions, particle detectors to analyze the chemistry of the rare debris they shed. Each is a fragment of a larger strategy to ensure that when the next interstellar traveler arrives, humanity will not be blind, nor dependent on accidents of timing. The tools of tomorrow are not only scientific, they are philosophical. They represent a decision to meet the unknown with preparation rather than surprise. Atlas has shown the cost of absence, of broken data chains, of silence and suspicion. The next visitor will demand better. The cosmos will send again, and humanity must choose whether to watch as fragments slip away or to build the tools that will finally let us follow. But what if we fail? What if the next visitor arrives, and again the instruments fall silent, the data broken, the story lost in fragments? The question lingers like an ache beneath every discussion of 3I Atlas. For each of these wanderers passes only once. There are no second chances. Once gone, they vanish into the dark, carrying their secrets beyond reach forever. The consequence of failure is not simply ignorance, it is vulnerability. If one of these travelers carried a trajectory not benign but catastrophic, humanity would need every moment of clarity to prepare. To lose vision in the critical hours is to gamble with fate. Even if the chance of collision is small, the risk of blindness is vast. Atlas was harmless, but it revealed how fragile our vigilance truly is. There are deeper consequences still. Each missed opportunity is a loss to knowledge itself. These objects are messengers from distant systems, carrying with them the chemistry of alien suns, the physics of conditions beyond our own. To miss them is to miss the chance to learn what the galaxy holds to remain provincial in a universe that offers us fragments of its story. The cosmos is speaking, but if we fail to listen, the silence becomes our own. And failure breeds suspicion. When telescopes go dark, when data chains fracture, trust dissolves. Scientists question not only their instruments but each other. Nations question motives. Humanity divides at the very moment it should unite. Failure then becomes not only scientific but cultural, a fracture in the way we imagine ourselves beneath the stars. 3. Atlas is gone now, receding into the black. Its secrets remain untold. If humanity does not prepare, the next visitor too will pass into silence, and the next after that. One by one, the galaxy's messengers will arrive and vanish, and we will be left with only regret. To fail is to choose blindness. To fail is to let the universe speak and remain unheard. There is a reason these visitors stir something deeper than curiosity. They are not planets or stars, steady in their cycles, predictable in their paths. They are wanderers, strangers, fragments of elsewhere, and in their sudden arrival, they disrupt not just astronomy but philosophy, unsettling our sense of belonging in the cosmos. For if the solar system is our home, then interstellar objects are intrusions. They remind us that the boundaries we draw, sun, planets, belts, clouds, are illusions of stability. Beyond them lies a vast ocean, and in that ocean drift countless things unseen. When one crosses our threshold, it breaks the spell of isolation. It whispers, "You are not alone, you are not sealed. You are part of something larger, something restless." This disturbance reaches beyond science into the heart of human meaning. We build stories of order, the earth beneath us, the sky above, the stars fixed in their constellations. But Atlas arrived as disruption, as refusal to belong, a messenger that carried no allegiance to our categories. In its flickering light curves and inexplicable momentum, it reflected our own fragility, the limits of what we know, the arrogance of certainty. Philosophers spoke of it as a mirror. To some, it mirrored our hunger, the desire to find life beyond Earth, even in a rock that showed no sign of biology. To others, it mirrored our fear that we are surrounded by mysteries we cannot control, that the universe is stranger than our models, less domesticated than we hope. Why do these visitors disturb us? Because they remind us that the universe is not ours. It is not ordered for our understanding, nor arranged for our comfort. It is vast, chaotic, filled with travelers that come and go without explanation, and in that reminder lies a profound humility. We are not the center. We are not the measure. We are a moment in a story written across light years, one that will go on long after our questions fade. The traveler is fading now. 3I, Atlas, once briefly within reach of human sight, has slipped back into the deep black, its path unbound, its secrets intact. The telescopes that caught its glimmers hold only fragments. The debates it stirred remain unresolved. It came quietly, left quietly, and in the silence of its departure, it left humanity staring into the absence it created. There is something haunting in that image, a shard from elsewhere, crossing the solar system not with spectacle, but with indifference. It asked no permission, it left no message, it carried no allegiance. Yet in its passing, it forced us to confront our own limitations, how fragile our instruments are, how divided our voices become, how vast the cosmos remains. And so it drifts, away from the warmth of the sun, back into the interstellar dark. No telescope will follow it much longer. No probe will ever intercept it. Its story is complete, yet unfinished. Complete in its passage, unfinished in our understanding. It will circle no star again, only wander, perhaps forever, until captured by another system or broken by collisions unseen. For us, it leaves a choice, to let its mystery fade or to prepare for the next, to treat these interstellar arrivals as accidents or as invitations. Each one is a messenger, not because it speaks, but because it exists. A reminder that the universe is restless, that matter crosses boundaries, that our home is not isolated but connected by currents far older than Earth itself. The fading traveler dissolves into silence, but its presence lingers in equations, in debates, in the memory of images released at the edge of blackout. It has passed us by, yet it has changed us, leaving the imprint of wonder, unease, and humility. The stars will send others, the skies will brighten with new anomalies, new wanderers, new puzzles. And when they do, humanity will remember this moment, the silence of the West, the vision of the East, the fragile chain of data, and the mystery of a rock that refused to belong. The universe is not finished with us. It is only beginning to speak. The story softens now, as all stories must. The traveler is gone, the voices of speculation quieting into echoes. What remains is the stillness of night, the certainty that above us, beyond us, the universe continues its slow and endless breathing. Stars wheel in silence. Galaxies drift apart. Invisible energies push reality outward, faster, further, into horizons we will never see. And somewhere in that silence, Atlas continues its journey, nameless and unknowing, carrying with it the weight of mysteries that need no witness. There is comfort in this, even as there is unease, for the visitor reminds us that we are part of something larger than comprehension, something that does not require us to understand, but invites us to wonder. It whispers that our questions matter, even if the answers never come, that the act of looking upward, of noticing a faint light against the black, is itself a kind of belonging. The night will continue. New wanderers will come. Some will be caught in sharper detail, others will slip past like shadows. Each will bring with it the reminder that the universe is not empty, that its stories are carried not only in stars and galaxies, but in the quiet fragments that drift unseen until the moment they pass before our gaze. Sleep now beneath the stars. Their light is ancient, steady, patient. The traveler has gone, but the sky remains, vast and open, waiting for the next messenger. The universe is endless, and though it does not explain itself, it allows us to listen, and in the listening we find our place. Sweet dreams.